At 6:41 a.m., I heard my front door ease open like it was trying to sneak out of confession, and before I could even register what was happening, a woman dressed like she was about to judge a pie contest, pearls, a clipboard, the whole HOA queen getup, tiptoed inside, whispering inspection like it was a secret code. She took maybe 2 steps, then the world just stopped. She went down in a heap, drowned head to toe in a Niagara of bright blue paint that came pouring from above my door. The can, labeled Ultra Cerulean Exterior, swung out like the world's most satisfying trap, soaking her so thoroughly I half expected her to sprout gills. Her scream ricocheted off the walls. I blinked, and justice dripped down my foyer rug in gloppy blue trails. You know what I mean? It was biblical. Let me back up a sec. I'm Evan Calder, 41, caffeine by sunrise, emails by noon, and I swear if anyone tries to talk to me about the nitrogen cycle before lunch, I will leave the country. I bought my little ranch in Copper Hollow because I thought it'd be quiet. Lawns clipped tight, neighbors who wave but don't ask questions, that whole manufactured peace thing. What they don't tell you on the Zillow listing is that the Homeowners Association breeds bylaws like rabbits. And at the head of this peculiar cult stands Mara Yates, self-crowned HOA president, master of ceremonies for the daily circus of compliance, and, if you let her tell it, guardian of the sacred beige. Tomorrow, I'm basically public enemy number 1. My wind chimes apparently play subversive tunes, my bird bath invites criminal avian loitering, and my curtains, which are definitely eggshell, get cited as ecru because her clipboard says so. I started getting letters, every one thicker than the last, each one reading like it was written by someone who thinks the Geneva Convention should apply to grass clippings. Then, it got weirder. She started showing up, sometimes inside my house, sometimes rescuing packages off my porch and opening them, sometimes just appearing in the backyard with a tape measure, insisting she was verifying fence integrity, like I'd built the Berlin Wall back there. Twice, I walked in with groceries and found her inside. One time she was measuring my living room rug. Another she was sniffing my hand soap and jotting notes. She even left me a citation for improper lemon, because I had limes in a bowl. When I called her out, she just beamed at the next HOA meeting and announced surprise interior assessments for at-risk decor, like she'd cured polio. My lawyer, who's a patient man, nearly choked laughing when I told him. He muttered, "Trespass," and told me to keep records. I brought that up with Mara, thinking maybe she'd blink or break character, but she just said the HOA covenant supersedes state law. I mean, what? She actually believes it, like, genuinely thinks the HOA is the UN. The citations kept coming, all for things you'd never expect. My doormat was 3 inches too wide, subsection 12.4, in case you're wondering. The garden gnome my daughter gave me was psychologically disturbing to buyers who weren't even looking to buy anything. And she started measuring my grass at dawn with a ruler, kneeling out there while I stood in the kitchen in my robe, coffee going cold. When I put up a security camera, she filed a complaint saying I was creating a surveillance state atmosphere. Yeah, that happened. Things escalated. She'd show up with a couple of board members, dragging poor Gerald from down the block, who looked like he'd rather swallow a stapler than be there. Mara would document the angle of my porch light, the spacing between my deck chairs, or spend 45 minutes photographing my garbage cans for her non-compliance portfolio. It started to feel less like a neighborhood and more like I'd moved into the set of a dystopian sitcom. But the day she let herself in while I was in the shower, that's when I snapped. I heard footsteps, heart froze, soap in my eyes, and I walked out in nothing but a towel to find her, camera in hand, snapping pics of my bookshelf and muttering about inappropriate literature. The deputy who showed up tried his best not to laugh, but even he had trouble keeping a straight face reading her complaint about menacing towel brandishing. From then on, Mara started leaving notes with a self-made presidential seal. Stuff like, "Your microwave usage exceeds community standards," and "Wi-Fi name is too whimsical." For the record, it was pretty fly for a Wi-Fi, and I stand by it. She even claimed my cat, Mr. Whiskers, spent too much time in the window, creating unpredictable visual stimuli. That woman filed a counter-complaint about my aggressive bath towel, and the deputy literally tossed it in the trash. So I got creative. If she was going to keep breaking in, she could meet some classic home security, low-tech, high dignity. I rigged a paint can above the door, One that'd dump if anyone opened the door without the right key. Cerulean blue, because it photographs well, and, let's be real, nothing says don't come back like having to explain blue streaks in your hair to your country club. A couple mornings later, I'm drinking coffee, hear the telltale click-creak splash, and then all hell breaks loose. My security camera caught it all, Mara skidding on the paint, arms flailing, cursing like a sailor who's just realized he's not getting his security deposit back. She tore out the door, trailing blue footprints all the way to her Lexus, which by the time she jumped in, matched my porch perfectly. Neighbors came out in their pajamas, some with travel mugs. Mrs. Chun from 2 doors down actually brought popcorn in a mixing bowl, and everyone pretended not to film while definitely filming. Mara stood in her driveway, dripping blue paint from her usually immaculate blonde bob. Her white blazer streaked like modern art, sputtering about assault with a liquid substance. Her husband peeked out, took one look, and retreated like a groundhog on February 2nd. The deputy showed up again, this time with backup, and followed the blue trail from my house to Mara's car. The paint had gotten everywhere, on her steering wheel, in her shoes, and even on the lockpicks she tried to claim were for HOA emergencies. Neighbors suddenly had a lot to say. Tom from across the street mentioned Mara had wandered into his garage to evaluate storage efficiency, and the Johnsons said she left a citation via their dog door about property being too fragrant. The real twist? Everyone had a Mara story. Now that she looked like she'd lost a brawl with the Blue Man Group, people started lining up to tell the deputies about her previous invasions. That evening, the HOA held an emergency meeting in the clubhouse, which always smells like celery and expired authority. The deputy played my security footage on the big TV, usually reserved for budget meetings, and blue footprints led right to Mara's designer heels. The locksmith, looking like he wished he could crawl into his tool bag, admitted Mara convinced him to make a universal courtesy key because she said the HOA had fire department entry rights. The board suspended her immediately, but the county prosecutor was just getting started. Court was packed 3 weeks later. Mara's lawyer looked like he needed a vacation before the thing even began. The prosecutor, all business, played the security cam footage, Mara's blue-soaked dash for freedom, the master key, the mail tampering, and a string of break-ins. The judge, who had no patience for nonsense, laughed out loud at the implied HOA consent defense, then handed down 2 years probation, a 500-foot no-contact order, and 120 hours of community service, repainting curbs in the exact shade of blue the court called Exhibit A. She even specified the paint color in the sentencing. Mara's jaw dropped so far, I thought she'd need a chiropractor. These days, Copper Hollow feels different. Neighbors nod at me with a whole new respect, and even Mr. Whiskers gets more window time without commentary. Mara? Last I saw, she was out on the street, brush in hand, painting curb numbers blue, her once perfect nails splattered, her blazer replaced by a county vest, her pearls swapped for a look that says, "How did I get here?" Funny thing is, the neighborhood's never been friendlier. People wave, folks chat, and every so often someone asks, "Hey, you got any more of that blue paint?" Sometimes, justice looks a lot like a trail of footprints, and sometimes, the HOA president learns that boundaries are more than just lines on a map. So what do you think? Was I right to stand my ground, or did I go too far? Ever dealt with a power-mad neighbor or a rule-crazy HOA? Tell me below. Whose side are you on? And where do we draw the line between community order and plain old common sense? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your wildest HOA stories or opini. Ons in the comments. Let's settle this once and for all.